Hi everyone, this is Tort Liability for my EDL 850 class by Andrew McKenna. Tort liability is when someone is liable for their actions or lack thereof, basically, and it results in the injury of another person. The first case that I found was Mosley versus Portland Public School District. Couple of students became involved in a fight during lunch, but it was in the hallway. One of the students pulled out a box cutter and basically stabbed and cut the other student in the chest and in the face, leaving permanent scars. The parents and students sued the school district for basically lack of supervision. And the Oregon Supreme Court found that the school was actually not liable in this case. They had security at the school and they had staffing, but just because of where they were and how quickly it happened, they found that they were not liable, actually. If it was my school, I believe they would investigate where and why the students were in the hallway and not in the lunchroom where they should be, and had they actually had previous behavioral issues. We also, I think, it'd be important to review the school's policy on student safety and ways to ensure students are where they need to be when they're supposed to be there is also very important. Second case was Johnson Johnson versus the School District of Millard. Actually found a couple neat cases in Nebraska. This one, sorry for the graphic picture, but this is where parents sued over injuries sustained during a first grade music class. The teacher had taught the students a game to the song London Bridge, and the students were putting their arms together. Two students would embrace, and a student would be in the middle of them, and the bridge would come down and then rock the other student gently back and forth. She had modeled this activity with students, but then she had chosen a few students at random to start, and instead of continuing to supervise, she went and started writing on the blackboard. Well, the students then proceeded to swing the student very aggressively and released, and the student fell and cut above his eye, resulting in like 30 stitches. So the eventually wound up in the Supreme Court of Nebraska, and they did find that the teacher was liable. I believe my school would investigate what the teacher had done to ensure student safety and understanding of the game, and what supervision was she providing during the activity. I believe after something like this, there would be additional staff training on student safety and supervision during student play activities. Case number 3, this was another one versus Millard School District. This one was quite a sad case. It was where the family sues for wrongful death of their son during a PE class. This was back in the, I believe, late 70s. The school mandated where the students had to learn how to play golf. Well, the weather had gotten nasty and required them to play golf practice indoors. This student had missed the first day of the golf lessons where they had gone over safety, swing, grip, all of those things, but was there for day 2. So apparently he was not reviewed with the safety procedures or the grip or the swing. The last student to have gone before him agreed to show him because he wasn't understanding. He had never even held a golf club before. And the one student said, I'm going to take 2 practice swings and then I'm going to swing. Well, the student by the 3rd swing stepped into it, and as the swing came around, hit this 9th grader in the head, and he died 2 days later. There was 2 teachers to around 56 kids One of those being a student teacher who is basically working one-on-one with another student, and neither of the teachers saw the incident happen. There was also some safety protocols that was supposed to be in place in the physical education room per the principal that they also discovered had not been followed. So the Supreme Court of Nebraska found that the school was negligent. I believe my school would investigate what safety precautions were taken to ensure student safety. I think they would also then looking at different alternatives for activities for days when there is inclement weather instead of doing activities that could be dangerous, such as golf. Even if it is with a wiffle ball, there's still a danger. I think they would set up stricter safety procedures or some type of check system to ensure that all students have actually properly been trained on the safety protocol if they're playing such games that could be dangerous. Case 4, this one is TK and SK individually and on behalf of LK. It's a whole bunch of initials. Versus the New York City Department of Education. This one was related to bullying, and there was a special education student that was thriving and nearing or at grade level, but began being bullied on a daily basis. Students were calling her names, playing the can't touch game where they wouldn't touch her or touch things that she had previously touched. They drew mean pictures. They even prank called. The parents had tried to address this during some different meetings, IEP being at least one of those, and the administration actually declined and told them it was not appropriate to discuss during those meetings. And other staff members, such as Perez, had stated that the teachers really didn't address the bullying issues with the students doing it. So because of that, the school was found liable, and they actually had to reimburse because the parents had moved her obviously out of that school district to a private school, and the school district then had to reimburse because they had violated her FAPE. So she got money for that to reimburse for the private school. I believe that my school district would investigate the actions that were taken when the bullying occurred, as well as the bullying issues being dismissed. I think this would come from higher up, especially if administration was failing to address the bullying issues, especially being dismissed in a meeting. And I think they would, definitely set protocols for bullying and how to address parent concerns. My last case was Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids Community School District. This was a 9th grade special education student that had gotten permission from her mother to ride the bus home with another friend, which wasn't the norm. Mom never really left the child unsupervised, but had assumed, per what her daughter had said, that parents would be home. She actually instead skipped 6th hour with the friend, met up with a boy out in the parking lot. They met up with some others, went to a couple different houses, and end result was that she was raped by the student. The student that raped her had been seen kissing her in what seemed consensual by one of the special education the teachers prior to this happening around October, and she just assumed it was a consensual, age-appropriate relationship and didn't really say anything. But when the child skipped school, their protocol was that they would put it in, but phone calls didn't go out till later in the evening to notify parents of what period they missed. So mom didn't realize she was not at school until she had received a phone call that the daughter had left a backpack somewhere. So the school actually was found 70% liable, even though they were sued for things that happen outside of school because they did not notify and there wasn't certain things in place, basically for student safety. So they were found that they were 70% liable and the student was 30% liable, and the student was awarded $500,000. My school, I believe, would have investigated what measures the teachers had taken when the student was noticed as absent from class. I know that in the case it had talked about how typically the teachers would call. They each had their own protocol. There wasn't one set protocol, but that definitely the child was marked absent, but phone calls didn't go out till later in the evening. So I think they would have investigated what steps they had taken. And then I believe that they would have to create some type of policy or plan, if a student's marked absent from class, that phone calls need to go out immediately and be made by school staff, and it needs to be a hard set thing in place. Professional ethics, I believe that staff really need some training on tort law. I've learned a lot about stuff I never even dreamed about being liable for, but I think it's really important that staff gets more training on tort law. Student safety procedures and policies, just a little common sense training for teachers could go a long ways. Also, bullying procedure training. I know it's something we deal a lot with, but I never think that it hurts to really have some hard set procedures and policies in place, even though I know sometimes every situation's different, but there needs to be something set in place in case something comes back. And staff training on special education laws, I also believe is very, very important. So I believe all of these things could help limit the liability issue with all of these types of things. And then here are my works cited. So thanks for watching.